In this short version video, I will only highlight some of the main interesting tips about Oracle EBS rollouts to Brazil. There's a long version video at the bottom of this page in which I present a lot of recommendations and tips that are very valuable for your rollout project. Check it out. So let's start with the main nuances for Oracle EBS rollout to Brazil. First one has to do with the GL primary calendar. Brazilian legislation requires using BR GAAP, and therefore we require Brazilian calendar, which is quite different from US calendar. Our month starts at the day 1 and finishes at the last day of the month. We cannot use 445 calendar as the primary set of books because this will cause tax miscalculation and legal reports to come out incorrectly. Check out the long version video and understand some of the other considerations you need to take into account for this matter. Second nuance has to do with order management and accounts receivable. Those two modules require much more transaction types than you might expect. So don't be surprised if your local project team tells you they need to set more than 200 transaction types. This happens because due to the tax legislation in Brazil. Third nuance has to do with integrated receiving module, which is a module developed by Oracle Brazil almost 2 decades ago, and it became a product sold by Oracle Brazil. Its purpose is to function as a liaison among PO, accounts payable, inventory, and third-party tax solution module. It's a mandatory component for Brazilian rollouts. I will soon explain how it works. Fourth nuance is the periodic average costing, which is a costing method within CST module. This is also mandatory to be used in Brazil because Brazilian legislation does not accept standard costing. Fifth and last solution has to do with bank transfer, which is the most common payment and receiving method in Brazil. Now, let's see some of the important software houses that we have in Brazil. I divide those partner software houses into 3 different groups. First one is the must-have group, and it's related to the tax solution. That's something you must acquire to roll out your Oracle EBS to Brazil. The 2 main players that provide such solutions are Synchro and MasterSaf. But MasterSaf has recently been acquired by Thomson Reuters. I will explain the tax solution in Brazil and how tax solution works with Oracle EBS in the next slide. Second group is the foreign trade management group. This is a should-have group for companies who have importation or exportation because Brazil has taxes, fees, and process related to foreign trade that Oracle does not address. But you can still survive without it, depending on your volume and with a few customization and manual controls. The 2 main software houses are NSI and Softway, which was also recently acquired by Thomson Reuters. And the third group is the cash management and treasury group, which is a nice-to-have group. You can always use Oracle cash management or treasury module, but some of the solutions from third-party software houses that local clients use are JustPlan and Sage. All Oracle partners use ODI and BPO for integration in a 12 version as recommended by Oracle. But due to the high cost of such middleware, most of them also implement their solution using DB links. You may lose features and security that ODI and BPO provide, but it's still an available solution. Now, let's see how an integrated solution for Oracle EBS, along with third-party software, work in Brazil. In the procure-to-pay cycle, it all starts with a purchase order, regardless if it's a regular PO or a blanket. Your vendor needs to send an out-of-fiscal called electronic invoice along with the goods in the shipment, which will be entered integrated receiving module. Integrated receiving matches the invoice with the PO to figure out any discrepancies, and if everything is okay, the info is sent to inventory module for inventory balance update, to accounts payable, to GL, and to tax books, which belongs to the tax solution sold by a third-party software house. The dotted line between integrated receiving and inventory is because we need a PO in order to update inventory. If there is no PO associated with the invoice, inventory balance will not be updated. Now let's check the order to cash cycle, where everything starts with a sales order that updates inventory through ship confirm and pick release process. After that, the transaction goes to accounts receivable through the out invoice core process, where the invoice is generated. Billing is a feature within AR module, but due to the tax engine and the setups required, it's a time-consuming part of your implementation, and therefore it's estimated as a different module by consulting companies. Billing sends the invoice to a tax solution module called electronic invoice, or Nota Fiscal Eletrônica in Portuguese, which sends to the Brazilian government to be validated. After the validation returns, this electronic invoice module returns the Nota Fiscal back to Oracle with the validation number. This process also registers the record in the tax solution system. We call it fiscal books. The receivings for such invoice is then done in accounts receivable module, usually by using electronic fund transfer with banks. As I said, AR and billing are the same module that are considered different ones for estimating purpose by local consultancies. If you design foreign trade management solution, both order to cash and procure to pay cycles will have integration with such systems in both sales / Nota Fiscal issue and purchase / Nota Fiscal receiving. Every transaction goes to GL for accounting as expected. Periodic average costing is updated upon goods purchases, inventory transfers between organizations that belong to different costing groups, and work in process resource. The cost, however, is only updated once a month after executing several concurrent processes. Tax solution also has several legal reports that the government requires. The info comes from tax books, HR and payroll, GL, and several Oracle subledgers. We finally reached the last slide, and if you check on my long version video, you may find tips on how to close the best deal with local consultants, as well as some considerations about the methodology to be used, both AIM, OUM, or the new one I created called LeanApps method. So I may offer guidance and mentoring to structure a EBS rollout to Brazil, evaluating your project context and objectives to suggest the best change management techniques and customize the LeanApps method templates to meet your personal needs. Although the strategy and templates behind LeanApps method are well formatted, some changes to reflect your context are always recommended. Remember that one size never fits all. I can also provide you support to source Brazilian consulting companies to execute your project. Since I have been working Oracle consulting business in Brazil for the past 17 years, I pretty much know the market and will be able to point out good options for you to decide. This will bring reliable companies that you don't know yet in your short list and will give you punch during the budget negotiation. I can also support for contract evaluation. There are some gaps and issues that may be anticipated during the contract negotiation that I can help you to evaluate. I have done this a lot in my career for other consulting companies. With such service, I can help you to avoid mousetraps that could end up in future and unexpected change requests. And finally, I can either assign a senior project manager that knows rollouts and LeApps method, or even manage your rollouts to Brazil myself. If you already have a project manager, I may provide health checks throughout the project. We finally finish our presentation. If it was of any value to you, please help me by joining our page at Facebook at LeApps Method. You may contact me directly for any questions you may have at dj.gomes@leappsmethod.com or through my personal phone, 55 as the country code, 11 as the area code, and phone number is 98394-4133. Thank you.